We all want our loved ones to be happy and not suffer, especially when they're very old. That's why some of us put our elderly family members in special places where they get help and can enjoy their time. These places are usually thought of as great because elders are taken care of by skilled people who want them to be well until they pass away. But sometimes, even in these places, bad things can happen. Without us knowing, our family members might be with people who want to hurt them, and that can make their lives really hard. Minnie Graham was a strong and smart woman who lived her life on her own terms until she passed away. She was never a simple person, and even when she was a child, her parents couldn't really understand her. She loved reading, especially books by Jane Austen and Virginia Woolf, which gave her ideas about equality and freedom that not many people around her seemed to get, except for her little sister Danielle. She and Danielle could share their thoughts and dream of a better life far away from the expectations of society. Her neighbors, especially the ones who were more traditional, saw her as a rebel who went against the usual rules and values of society. Minnie was one of those forward-thinking women who believed that women deserved more than just being educated to be mothers, wives, and daughters. Minnie's teenage years were tough, especially when she got older and her parents started pushing her to get married. She realized that she would never be accepted by her family, and if she stayed with them, she would never be free to live the way she wanted. So when she was 21 years old, she decided to leave home. She left a letter explaining her feelings and why she had to go. It was a sad goodbye, but she knew it was necessary. Otherwise, she would always be living a life that others had planned for her, and that wasn't what she wanted anymore. After the sad event, Minnie's life got better when she met Henry Graham, who would become the love of her life. Henry was an unconventional guy in the 60s, just like Minnie, and they both loved their freedom and exploring the world. Their relationship was unique. Henry was an art dealer, always traveling. Minnie used to be a teacher, but when she fell in love with him, she left everything behind to travel and explore with him. After more than 2 years of dating and amazing trips, they got married and thought about starting a family, but not in the usual way. Instead, they got married in Spain while traveling and exploring the Canary Islands without any guests or big celebrations. They spent a month honeymooning and visiting the pyramids of Egypt. Then they returned to the USA, to Texas, bought a lovely house, and started a family in their own modern way. Their life was just as they had always dreamed it would be. Within a year of moving to Texas, Min became pregnant with twin girls, Sydney and Natalie, who were born at 8 months pregnant and filled their lives with love and joy forever. However, their happiness would not end there, as 3 years after the birth of the twins, Minnie unexpectedly became pregnant again, welcoming a baby boy they would name Theo. Life as parents gave them a new perspective on things, but it never changed their way of thinking nor their non-traditional approach to life. They were both loving and innovative parents who strove to raise their 3 children in a tolerant and understanding way, far removed from everything they had experienced when they were young. After the birth of their children, Minnie decided to lead a quieter and more familiar life, at which time she decided to dedicate herself to a great dream, to be a writer. Meanwhile, her husband continued to travel, but at a much slower pace so that he could spend more time at home and help her raise her 3 children. It was precisely that education and the love that their parents gave them throughout their lives which made that when the time came in the twilight of their lives, Minnie and Henry Graham enjoyed the unconditional love and company of their loved ones. Their children adored them, and they were always very conscious of how fortunate they were to have them as parents. That is why, when the time came to take care of them and give them a dignified end, they spared no expense and wanted to provide them with the best care within their reach. Unfortunately, the first to die of the 2 was Henry at the age of 89 from pancreatic cancer. He battled for more than 5 years. He was a fighter, and his entire family was by his side until the end, but the doctors could do nothing more to save him. Minnie was devastated, and although she was well aware that this day would come and that she would have to say goodbye to her great love, the loss of her beloved husband caused her immense pain that nothing and no one was able to calm. Minnie enjoyed good health until she was 98, but then her mind started failing and doctors diagnosed advanced dementia. The family's trusted doctor recommended admitting her to a specialized facility due to the severity of the disease and her age. Her family chose Winters Park Nursing Home in Garland, Texas, known as the best in the state, to care for her. They trusted the dedicated staff to provide the care she needed in her final weeks. However, things didn't go as planned. Initially, everything seemed fine, but within weeks, complications arose. Minnie's granddaughters visited her regularly, but during one visit, they began to notice that something was seriously wrong. During one of the visits, they found the poor lady battered and bruised. She had large bruises all over her body, and Minnie's mood was much worse. "Grandma, did they hurt you? Who hit you? You can tell us, don't be afraid. Please tell us who was the one who dared to hurt you." One of her granddaughters begged her when she saw the pitiful state in which the old woman was. Minnie managed to explain through tears that she'd been abused by her caregivers and claimed that more than one caregiver had beaten her on multiple occasions. When her family confronted the nursing staff at the nursing home, they denied everything and defended themselves by saying that Minnie had a habit of falling out of her wheelchair, and that is what had caused the injuries they'd seen. But the family didn't believe a word of it. The family's concerns and suspicions led them to take action by installing a hidden camera in the elderly woman's room. They said she had fallen out of the wheelchair and that no one beat the patients there, explained Shirley Ballard to the media, Minnie's granddaughter. She added that she never believed that this was what really happened. However, after weeks of secret taping, the family was completely horrified by the disturbing truth they discovered. The situation was far worse than they expected, and they had to act as soon as possible. The footage showed the extent to which Mrs. Graham was being abused by her caregivers. The videos showed caregivers Brenna Tiller and Ikechukwu hitting, pushing, slapping, and insulting the elderly woman as she screamed in pain and begged them to stop. When my grandmother screams in pain, they completely ignore her, stated another of Minnie's grandchildren, Terry Harden, who shared the footage with Fox 4 Channel News. The images also showed Minnie being sprayed in the face with water and with a towel stuffed in her mouth after being used to wash her body. They could also see that beyond the physical abuse, Tiller tormented Minnie psychologically, calling her ugly and mocking her constantly. After their heinous acts were caught on camera, both Ikechukwu and Tiller were fired and subsequently charged with felony injury to the elderly after Minnie's family filed a complaint against them. During this time, Minnie's health deteriorated, and tragically, just weeks after the footage brought the center's mistreatment to light, Minnie Graham passed away. She gave up, Shirley said of her late grandmother. She didn't want to live anymore. She was tired of suffering and her body couldn't take the pain anymore. She was such a happy and full-of-life woman. She didn't deserve such an end. It is an injustice, and we will not stop fighting until we get those evildoers to pay for what they've done to my grandmother, Shirley added. However, justice was not as swift nor as effective as might have been desired. Although Ikechukwu was soon arrested, Tiller continued to work at several other facilities, while the police claimed they were unable to locate her. However, to everyone's surprise, tracking down the rogue nurse was no big deal for Fox 4's special news team, who quickly found Tiller in her home and even confronted the abusive care nurse when she tried to flee. According to the Ranson law firm the Graham family had hired for the case, years later, Tiller was eventually convicted on the felony charge of maltreatment and the abuse of authority. However, she was only sentenced to 5 years of probation and had her nursing license revoked, a small sentence for all the pain this woman had inflicted on her victims. I just don't know how there can be such heartless people in this world, Shirley said. In a way, justice was served. We hope she can't do it again, and that there will be no more victims like my dear grandmother, the young woman added sadly, remembering her late grandma. Sadly, what happened to Minnie happens a lot today, where older people are sometimes treated badly and not taken care of properly. It's up to us to stop this and make sure our loved ones get the right care when they're old. We owe it to them. This is the only way to prevent sad stories like Minnie's from happening again. She was a kind and caring person who lived her life the way she wanted, and what happened to her at the end was very unfair and should never have happened. What do you think of this incident? Have you experienced such an incident?
If you like this story, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your loved ones. Also subscribe and press the bell icon to never miss the update from our channel. Thank you.